Buddy Ron the Car Guy is here, and each and every week you'll learn something about your vehicle, as Ron is the know-all when it comes to vehicles.
You know, when I was young, they called me a know-it-all, too. But I don't think it had the same effect.
Know-all.
Yeah.
No, not know-it-all. Know-all when it comes to vehicles. But it's supposed to start to get cool here now.
Exactly.
In theory. And there are some folks that have some diesel vehicles they always have a little concern when it comes to be this time of year.
Absolutely. And typically this time of year is a good time to talk about diesel vehicles as we go into winter, because it's usually not going to be 79 degrees like today. But it's coming. The cold temps are going to be here, and it's going to be an issue. And I had a question come in through AskRonTheCarGuy.com, and the person asked, they said, where can I buy number one diesel fuel for my pickup? And the answer is, I don't know. I don't think that you can pull up to a pump and buy number one diesel fuel anymore.
Now, what's the difference between number one or number two or number four or number nine? Or
that's a great question. The lower the number, the more refined it is.
Oh, okay.
So number one is more refined than number two. Number two has more paraffins and waxes in it, so it's thicker. And we'll go back to the syrup analogy. Number one is thinner and flows like Aunt Jemima Light.
Okay.
And number two would be a little thicker and flow like regular, maple syrup.
Okay.
And
what do you normally see at the pump right now?
Number two.
Okay.
Yeah, and usually around November 1st, this time of year, the retailers will switch over to, again, similar to gasoline, they have a winter blend of number two,
okay,
where they put some different additives into it, okay, and maybe put a little bit of number one in with it to kind of thin it out and make it flow a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that, the concern is with the waxes and the paraffins and stuff in there, as the temperatures do drop, which eventually at some point they will, number two will start to, they call it waxing. It starts to get thick, and the common term is called gelling. It gels up and it won't flow, so then the vehicle won't start.
Right.
And so, in the old school days, you had number one diesel, and you just knew if you drove a diesel vehicle, you knew to switch over and put number one into it in the winter time, instead of looking for a blend or putting an additive in. But many of the newer diesel vehicles that have the electronics and stuff on it, the number one's not good for them. It'll damage.
Really?
Yeah, it'll damage high pressure fuel pumps because there's not enough lubrication and additives in it, and you get into some of the later model pickup trucks. I mean, if you have a high pressure pump or a main component go out, I mean, it's thousands of dollars to fix that. So you want to use what the manufacturer recommends, which is number two,
light,
number with a winter blend, exactly, instead of number one.
So that's kind of an old way of thinking when you think diesel one.
Correct, absolutely. What they have at the pump is what you want to put in the vehicle. Now the problem becomes somewhere in the upper teens, 15 to 20 degrees, when we get into that temperature, the number two light or the number two winter blend will still gel up.
Oh, it will?
Yes. And so we start seeing issues, when you drop below that 15, 17 degree temperature. It usually happens overnight when it gets colder, obviously, and stays there for a few hours. Then we start seeing starting issues, especially if a vehicle hasn't been maintained that well. And certainly when you get into the single digits temperatures, we start seeing the diesel vehicles start to gel up. Even with the winter blend in, it can only do so much. It's only good to a certain point, and it's usually in that 15 to 20 degree range is where it does all it can do.
So is there anything you can do to prevent that?
Absolutely. You should use some kind of an additive with your fuel. And
how pricey is that?
There's, again, we're kind of back to like the brake clean. There's many different brands out there, but they all work adequately. There's usually a chart on the back that'll show if you're putting in 20 gallons, use this many ounces of product in there. But it's really not that much. I mean, I've seen it anywhere from $4 a bottle to $10 a bottle. Just
cheaper than
depending.
having your car towed and brought inside to warm up.
You can't buy, and that's what you have to do. When you do have a diesel vehicle that doesn't start, quit trying. Because it isn't going to start.
Right.
And it's going to need to be towed in, put inside a shop where it's warm, have some additional additives put in, change the filters, and then get everything to fire up.
Why would you need to change the filters?
Because that wax, the gel that we talked about, it gets trapped in the paper. That's how a filter works. There's like a paper membrane in there, and it gets trapped in there. And
when it becomes a solid?
Exactly. And it can either damage the paper, to where it may tear it, or it gets trapped in the pleats, and I don't care if I stand there with a hairdryer on it, it's not going to thin out enough to where it'll start. So you need to change the filters, as well as get product into the system to help undo the wax buildup, the gelling, and let it warm up, and then it'll start up and it'll be fine.
Wow. A lot of things to worry about.
Well, things to think about as you head into eventually the winter season here in Iowa.
Now, how cold did we get last year? Parking.
Oh boy.
No, you don't have to. No, just ballpark it.
No, because now I want to know. I suppose 10 below. I suppose
10 below,
somewhere in there. Yeah.
Because we drive a diesel car, and we had 0 issues last year. Absolutely no issues. The biggest amount of time I had to wait is maybe a half a second when you turn the key on.
Sure.
When it was really, really cold and we came out after work, turned it and would just wait for about a second, maybe a second, and then boom, it fired right up.
And see, like your vehicle, it's got heaters. Built into, there's glow plugs that will heat up the cylinders, but oftentimes when that's on, there's heaters that heat up the fuel coming through the fuel rail. But you bring up a great point, because I remember last year we towed a Ford pickup in, and it was gelled up, and the owner said, he goes, I had it plugged in overnight. Well, one thing to keep in mind, when you plug your diesel vehicle in, it's warming up the engine through the antifreeze and the coolant.
Antifreeze.
Exactly.
Not the fuel.
It's not warming up the fuel. You're not doing anything to what's in the tank and the lines and stuff like that. And two, it has to do with where the vehicle's parked, how it's sitting. If it's sitting, especially a pickup, they seem to be more prone to gelling. If it's sitting out in a parking lot, they sit up a little bit higher and the wind's blowing underneath them, carrying that cold. As opposed to if it's in a garage or a parking structure, or even in a parking lot around other vehicles.
Yeah, because that wind going through the area, that's going to dissipate the heat even further.
Exactly. I remember when I went to car guy school, and they said, the wind chill has no effect on a car. A car can't feel wind chill. Well, it's my opinion that it does, because
it'll cool it down a lot faster.
Exactly, and keep it cool longer. Yeah. So.
And I'm good, because on the 5th of February we got to 10 below, and that's as cold as we got.
Okay, there you go.
That's why you're one of the top weathermen in
this room.
Exactly.
Whether you have a diesel or not, now's the time when it is still warm to come in, get your car winterized, whether it be tires, things like that. So when that first day drops and we start getting the white stuff, people aren't freaking out.
Absolutely. I tend to be more proactive. It's just a lot easier than calling the tow truck when there is a problem.
Right.
All right, so this is
Although
where
if you do need a tow truck,
you could call Westside Auto Pros.
I saw one of your vehicles out. I'm glad you said that. I saw one of your vehicles go into a call last Sunday morning at 10:15 in the morning. They were on their way down Hickman, heading westbound, and looked like they were on a mission.
That or they were going for donuts.
One of the two.
Both get them going really quick.
No, I saw them and I go, look, there goes the service truck. So they were working bright and early.
Those guys are awesome. They're, the towing, the roadside assistance, the jump starts. That's a part of our business. It runs 24/7. It never stops. And the guys that work for me and do that part, they're truly amazing people. They care about what they're doing and who they're going to help, and I'm fortunate to have them work for me.
Now, if people have any other questions they want to ask you, what's the best place to go?
You can go to AskRonTheCarGuy.com. That's where the diesel question started from. Or you can just contact me at Westside Auto Pros. The phone number's up there on the screen, 225-9090, or shoot me an email.
And he does answer them.
I do answer questions, absolutely.
I'm sorry, go ahead, tell me the email.
The email's ron@westsideautopros.com.
Wonderful. Great job as always, buddy.
Thank you.